from your month we all adore. We pray for happiness and more. To all the people, open up your door. Peace, love and joy. Let them soar, let them soar. Ramadan, welcome.
Assalamu Aleikum Warahmatullahi Wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdata min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Bismillahi alladhi la yadurru ma'a ismihi shay'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwa as-sami'ul alim. Inshallah, tonight bi'idhnillahi ta'ala we are going to have a very important session, and tonight, as we know, it's a day 6-1. As we know, we are in our first annual Ramadan WhatsApp group event that we mentioned that we are going to talk about a reminder on the Zakat ul-Fitr, a reminder on Zakat ul-Fitr, and here 9th June Friday 2017. Okay, now, so you may be asking that why have we put the name a reminder on Zakat ul-Fitr? Now, reminder is something which is called now in Arabic is dhikr, and a very important verse in the glorious Quran. If you go to Surah Al-A'la, which is chapter number 87 and the verse is number 9. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَ. So remind, if that reminding, it will help those people. Yeah. So extend this advice to people, if that advice, it is useful. So Allah is saying to us, let us remind the people. If you find that this advice, it will be useful for those people, we should remind them. That means we should remind our Muslims, believers, about the deen of Islam. A little bit, you find that they forget. You know, the human beings, they forget. And we are created like that. So, a reminder on this Zakat ul-Fitr, we know that many of you, they have forgotten about Zakat ul-Fitr. And right now, maybe some of you now, they are still concentrated on some other thing, on some other issues. But still, I'm telling you, my brother and sister, let us understand Zakat ul-Fitr bi'idhnillahi ta'ala tonight. I'm going to do a very summarized version. But before that, I want to mention that, you know, as we know, alhamdulillah, on our last session, we had discussed the excellence of observing fasting. And on that day, you find that we just discussed about the 3 virtues of fasting, which I think so you find that I was very much lenient in a way that we needed to talk about more. We didn't need to only talk about 3, but we wanted to talk about even more. We had 12 virtues, but we just talked about 3, and I'm very sorry for that. But inshallah, maybe another time, because we find that we are placing our time in a way for only 1 hour. That's the way we have taken our events, because we don't want to overwhelm a person. We don't want to make many things or many stories to that person. Also tonight, also inshallah, we're going to try to make it as short as possible. Even if we can make it 30 minutes, it can be good. But alhamdulillah, tonight we are going to have 2 sessions in our this very important lesson talking about the Zakat ul-Fitr. We are going to, alhamdulillah, do Zakat ul-Fitr in a way that was taught to us by our shuyukh, and in a way that is best. Okay? So we are going to discuss about Zakat ul-Fitr in a very concise way, a summarized way. Then inshallah we're going to have question and answer. We're going to have the questions that they have been asked to our shuyukh. You know, our scholars, they have been asked many a times about Zakat ul-Fitr. So there are some of the common questions that are asked to them. And I'm going to discuss this question now with you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So that's why you're going to have these two sessions. The first session we're going to discuss about Zakat Fitri in whole. So at least this one will be easy for most of you. But some of them now may be having some issues. Inshallah, this we're going to discuss maybe in our question, question answer session, in which I have the question and I have the answer also, alhamdulillah. So let us start by mentioning about Zakatul Fitr. Then what is Zakatul Fitr? Now Zakatul Fitr, it is an obligatory charity which every capable Muslim, he should pay for himself and for every member of his family at the end of the month of Ramadan, before it is the Eid prayer. He has to pay it. He has to pay it. So it is an obligatory thing. It's an obligatory charity. If you see Zakat, in itself, there is Zakatul Mal and there is Zakatul Fitr. And Zakatul Fitr is the one that is given at the time of Ramadan, before the Eid prayer. And now, you cannot give this Zakatul Fitr when the prayer of, when the Eid prayer has been done already. No. But we need to give it before the Eid ul-Fitr. Now, you should not be giving at the time of Eid al-Adha. You have to understand this. This is what I talk about, Zakatul Fitr. First of all, I want to mention here that it is something that's obligatory. One may ask that why is it obligatory? And inshallah we're going to discuss it ahead bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Number two, for a capable Muslim. When we talk about capability of Muslim, inshallah also you're going to discuss about this capability of Muslim. That what is the nisab of this Zakat Fitri? As we know that the nisab level of the Zakat itself is the 85 grams of gold. When you see the 85 grams of gold, how much is in your currency? You have to check on it. So that after a whole year of Zakat, you can give your money. And 85 gram of gold, you're going to check it with your currency in your country. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So we have understood the fact that in Zakatul Fitr there is also nisab. So there's those people who they are capable. They are capable Muslim to give this Zakatul Fitr. And we're going to discuss what is the nisab also. Also, this Zakat Fitr you have mentioned here in that definition, that it is a person like a father. He is giving the Zakat ul-Fitr for the whole member of his family. So we need to have, we can say, a leader of the family. That leader of the family, he is now the, we can say, he's the imam of the family. That imam of the family is usually the father. The father is usually the leader of the family. That father now, he has to give Zakat al-Fitr for the whole member of his family. Regarding his family, we're talking about here is also his mother and his father also. Okay? His children, his wives, and it stops there. Maybe you find that if you're talking about the sister now of that father, then he can also give. If you find that sister, maybe he has some difficulty in paying Zakat al-Fitr. Or maybe that sister, maybe she's widow, and something like that. So now that father now he has to give the Zakat or ul-Fitr for also that sister of his, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So there should be capability here of that father. He should be capable, that leader of the family should be capable of paying that Zakat al-Fitr. Should have the nisab level we're going to discuss ahead bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And also it should be given at the end of the month of Ramadan, just before the Eid prayer. And inshallah we're going to discuss this also, that at what length should we give. Maybe can we give 10 days before? Can we give 20 days before? We're going to answer this type of question bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. What is the importance of Zakat al-Fitr? Al-Bukhari and Muslim, it relates that Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu is said, Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he enjoined the payment of one sa'. One sa'. One sa' is how much? It is about 3 kilograms. So the Prophet ﷺ, he enjoined the payment of one sa', that is 3 kilograms of dates, or one sa', that is 3 kilograms of barley, as Zakatul Fitr on every Muslim that is young and old, male and female, free and slave. So it should be paid before proceeding for the Eid prayer. That is what is mentioned in the Al-Bukhari and Muslim and related by Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu. So, the Prophet here, you can see that he has enjoined the Muslims, whether they are free or they are slaves, whether they are male or they are female, whether they are young or they are old, there should be a person who is giving for them the Zakat ul-Fitr. So that young Muslim, he has the ability, he can give for himself. But if that young boy, he doesn't have the ability to give that Zakat ul-Fitr for himself, then his father should give Zakat ul-Fitr for him. Okay? So, if that old, talk about old person, maybe is an old grandmother, she doesn't have the capability of giving the Zakat ul-Fitr, maybe then his son should give the Zakat ul-Fitr for her sake. Okay? And male and female, here also mentioning that why putting male and female, the fact that all the male also they should give Zakat ul-Fitr and all the female, and the young and also the free and the slave, as the fact that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the slaves, they were giving for themselves also Zakat ul-Fitr. Or if they are not having the capability, then their master will give that Zakat ul-Fitr for them. Okay? So you can see that the importance of Zakat ul-Fitr is being shown here. That all of them, they are giving Zakat ul-Fitr. Whether they are young, they are old, they are female, they are male, all of them they are giving it. They are free, even they are slave, they have to give it because of its obligation. That's it. The Prophet also mentioned here, it should be 3 kilograms of the dates or barley. Now, let us go on and mention that the payment of this Zakat Fitri, it is obligatory for every Muslim who possesses one sa', that is 3 kilograms of dates or barley or similar food items which it is not needed as a basic food for himself or his family during the 24 hours of Eid day. Okay, we understood this point. We have said that when talking about the Zakat al-Fitr here, it is obligatory for every Muslim who has the possession of this 3 kilograms of dates, which is now extra. What am I meaning when saying that you have 3 kilograms of dates, or you have 3 kilograms of barley, or you have 3 kilograms of maybe rice, or maybe another food item? You have it extra. Meaning of here, putting extra word here, is for the fact that on the Eid day, you find that people, your family members, they need food. Now, if they need food, and you have given maybe that 3 kilograms of maybe dates you had to another person or to another family, and then you will remain with nothing, then that is not. That means that you should not give Zakat ul-Fitr. Why? Because you do not have an extra food for your own self or for your family on that day of Eid. So this is very much important. If you have maybe now, alhamdulillah, you have maybe 20 kilograms of food for yourself and your family, so that's enough, alhamdulillah. But now you also have, you find that now you have to give now food now. An extra food should be given now to the other family who do not have even a single rice to themselves. So you need to give them food to them. Because of the fact that you have at least 20 kilograms, then you need to give Zakat ul-Fitr. And sometimes happens that, a person, he may be giving one person a lot of Zakat al-Fitr, and maybe he has done it maybe 3 days before Eid. He has given that person, and he has now become, he has a lot of, if you check, maybe you are 4 family members, yeah? We check now, maybe you are a rich person, and there's a poor family. There's a rich family, the poor family. That rich family, it consists of 10 people, and the father now, he gives 3 times 10, that is 30 kilogram of maybe rice to that poor family. Now he gives all of this 30 kg of food to that poor family, and now that poor family, now they have 30 kg of food, and there are only maybe 2 of them in that poor family. Now they are capable now of giving now 6 kilogram of maybe that rice that they are given to another family. Yeah, I think you can see this poor family now, it becomes obligatory for them to give Zakat al-Fitr, because of the fact that they have what? They have enough for themselves. That's why I'm mentioning here that they should give an they should have 3 kilograms maybe of that food as an extra. Okay, and this happens on the Eid day. So maybe you find that maybe on Eid day you have 0, you have nothing, then you should not give even food. Or maybe you only have maybe 3 kilogram of food, and that is now required for your Eid day, so you don't need to give Zakat al-Fitr. But alhamdulillah, many of the families, they have a lot of food and they are giving. They should give. It becomes obligatory upon them to give, because they have even more than 3 kilograms. They have more than 3 kilograms of that food. They have a lot of food, so they should give this what we call Zakat al-Fitr. Let us go on by mentioning that such a Muslim now, he must pay it now for himself and for every member of his family. And it is better for the members of the family to pay for themselves if they are able to do so. So we're mentioning here that if you have now a lot of food, maybe like the story that I've mentioned here, a rich guy has given 30 kg now to only one family, and that one family, he has gotten a lot for himself on the Eid day, so he should give 6 kg also now to another family, and that is the way he should do it. And it is better, as we are mentioning here, that for the members of the family to pay for themselves if they are able to do so. It is better for you. Now alhamdulillah, you find that even nowadays our children, they are given phones, they are given smartphones, they are given a lot of even pocket money. Now some of them, they save that pocket money, so we should tell them that now you as a person, you should give for yourself Zakat al-Fitr, that is 3 kilogram of maybe rice, of anything that you have capability of. So that is better for you, so that you can show now the responsibility of that should be given to our children, that we should teach them about leadership and also responsibility. It's important for them. So that is very much important, and it may be paid on the behalf of the child in the mother's womb, but that is not obligatory. So maybe you find that on just before the Eid day, you find that maybe the mother now, he has a child. So that means that during the month of Ramadan, she did not fast. She did not fast during the month of Ramadan because she was pregnant, and now it has reached now to the day of paying Zakat al-Fitr just before the Eid prayer. So we tell to that person that it may be paid on that on the behalf of that child in the mother's womb, but it is not obligatory. So it may, you might give it. It's good to give it, but it is not obligatory. Now Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu, he used to pay Zakat al-Fitr on the behalf of the child in the womb. he used to give Zakat ul-Fitr on the behalf of the child in the womb. Now, what is the purpose of Zakat al-Fitr? Now, we have mentioned, alhamdulillah, we have known the nisab, we have known the importance of Zakat al-Fitr. Now, we are coming to see the purpose of Zakat al-Fitr, and we are mentioning here that its purpose now, it is to purify the fasting person from any indecent act or the speech, and to help the poor and the needy. So that's the purpose now of Zakat al-Fitr. It is to purify now that fasting person. You purify that fasting person now. Maybe you find that he has done maybe an indecent act. He has done something which is bad. Maybe he lied. Maybe he swore. No, that's another point. Okay, maybe he did something bad. He backbited. That is something bad, backbiting, but backbiting, you find that it's a major sin. I don't think it is a minor sin. So here we are talking about the minor sins. Maybe you did an indecent act which was not good. So for that, now it purifies. That's Zakat al-Fitr. It purifies it. And also, we are also giving it to help that poor and the needy, especially during the time of the Eid prayer, of Eid time, as it will help them now to have at least food for their families. Okay. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he enjoined Zakat al-Fitr on fasting Muslim to purify them from any indecent act or speech, and for the purpose of providing food for the needy. Okay, so you're providing that food for the needy, and this hadith, it is reported by Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Darqutni, and Hakim. So, as we mentioned that the required amount here, we mentioned also that the requirement of Zakat al-Fitr, it is 1 sa, that is about 3 kilograms of wheat, or maybe barley, or maybe raisin, maybe dry cottage cheese, or maybe rice, maybe corn, or similar items that are considered as basic food of the people in that country. So if maybe in your country it is rice, you should give 3 kilograms rice. If it is flour, you should give 3 kilograms flour. If it is corn, you should give 3 kilograms of corn. Of anything similar item, that which is basic food of the people in the country. You find that it is not accepted to pay the clothes, furniture, or anything other than what is considered a basic food of the people. So we should not pay maybe or give clothes. That is not Zakat al-Fitr, because Zakat al-Fitr, it is food. Okay. We should also not give like furniture or something like that. We should only give food that is obligatory. Okay. And it is not acceptable to pay an equivalent value. An equivalent value, what you're meaning here is that some people now, you find that if you find that maybe 1 kilogram of rice is 200 shillings, so you may give now 200 times 3, you may give 600 shillings to that poor person. So we are saying that it is not acceptable to pay an equivalent value. So that is not acceptable. It will become invalid. So Zakat al-Fitr should be food. You should give that person food instead of money. So maybe you give maybe to each family 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram, 1 kilogram, or maybe you give to every family 2 kilogram, then another family 1 kilogram, the way you want. Okay. So this will be violation of the instruction of the Holy Prophet ﷺ if you pay maybe money or you pay an equivalent value. Okay, it will be in violation to the instruction of the Prophet ﷺ. And we Muslims, we need to follow the instruction of the Prophet ﷺ in the way that the Prophet ﷺ has taught us to do. Okay, and to whom should this Zakat al-Fitr be given? Whom should we give this Zakat al-Fitr? We are saying that it should be distributed among the poor and the needy of the country where the Muslim is residing at the time of its payment. and if he does not know needy person there, he may pay it to the poor and needy in any other place. I'm mentioning about here the Muslims. The Muslims, they're the one who should be given what we call Zakat ul-Fitr. Okay? Because of the fact that they are poor and they are needy in that country, you should give the Muslims. But you find that if you don't find maybe in your country a Muslim who is poor and needy, then you can give to another country or to another place where there are Muslims who they are poor and they are needy. So this is also important for you to know whom you should give this Zakat ul-Fitr. Then what is the time of payment of this Zakat ul-Fitr? We want to say that it is due at the sunset at the night preceding the Eid day. That means at the end of the last day of Ramadan. What you're saying here is that before we reach the Eid day, we should have given our Zakatul Fitr before it reaches the Eid day. So before that night of the Eid day, we should have given the Zakatul Fitr, and it is preferable to pay it at the morning of the Eid day. It is preferable to pay it at the morning of the Eid day, before performing the Eid prayer, as mentioned in the hadith, of Abdullah ibn Umar. It is permissible to pay it a day or two even before Eid. Also, sorry, I think so I had mistaken somewhere. So what it mentioned is that we should give this Zakat Fitri at that night of Eid day. When it starts the night of Eid day, then at that time we should be giving our Zakatul Fitr. We should give the Zakatul Fitr at that night of the night of Eid day. So that means that we should give at the prayer before performing the Eid prayer. Before they perform the Eid prayer, at that morning time, you should have given the Zakatul Fitr. That is now the preferable time to pay it. Okay? So, as we mentioned in Hadith here, we are going to mention here that it is permissible also to pay it a day or two before Eid. Maybe it is 1 day before Eid or 2 days before Eid. Then also we can give our Zakat Fitri, because you find that now in our current 2017, you find that there are many people in the country and also worldwide. There are many people. So you find that it may become very much difficult for you now to give your Zakat Fitri at the morning of that day, of the Eid, before the Eid prayers. So it becomes sometimes difficult, because in other places they pray very much early. They pray even 7, and other places they pray at 8. So it may become very much difficult for you to pray. So to give the Zakat Fitr at that time. So we are telling you that it is permissible to give 1 or 2 days before the Eid day. Before the Eid day. Okay, Nafi, he reports that Abdullah bin Umar used to pay Zakat al-Fitr on behalf of all, young and old. Even he used to pay it on behalf of my, that is Nafi's children, and he used to pay it to those who desired to accept it. And it was distributed among them a day or two before Eid. And this hadith, it is reported by Al-Bukhari. So we can give our Zakat al-Fitr 1 day before Eid or 2 days before Eid. And as I mentioned here, that it is preferable to pay on the morning before the Eid prayer, on the morning of that day of Eid, before the Eid prayer. Okay, it is preferable to pay it at the morning of the Eid day before you perform that Eid prayer. Now we go next to mention some of the things here, that it is not permissible to delay that payment of Zakat al-Fitr. It is not permissible to delay the payment of Zakat al-Fitr, to pay it after Eid prayer without an acceptable excuse. So you need to have an excuse here, an acceptable excuse, that you have an excuse now here, that maybe you could not pay your Zakat al-Fitr as you are maybe you had a lot of you're very much busy, maybe you had something, you may not know, but you need to have an acceptable excuse. You need to have an acceptable excuse here. You cannot give any excuse that you want, that maybe you became lazy. That is not an excuse. You need to have an acceptable excuse. Maybe you are jailed, you may be detained in the prison for no reason, so maybe you can delay after the Eid prayer. Or maybe you are caught up into something that was, maybe someone became sick and you had to go to the hospital and you had to do something there. Or maybe you're a doctor and you are in the hospital and you had a lot of work and no one was able now, the other was schools, and I think you can understand this situation. In that situation now, that's an acceptable excuse. Then in that situation, we can tell that person, you can give it after the Eid prayer. You can give Zakat al-Fitr after the Eid prayer, but let us try even to do at least one day before Eid prayer. We should be at least people who are there, disciplined. We should be people who they are disciplined, and we're trying to give this Zakat Fitr as soon as possible. Okay. So that's why he's saying that it is not permissible to delay that payment of Zakat al-Fitr, to pay it after the Eid prayer without an acceptable excuse. So if a person has known the news of Eid lately, or maybe he or she is in a place where nobody is accepting Zakat al-Fitr, then he may pay it later. Okay, so this is also an excuse here that I've mentioned here, that maybe that person he has known that news of Eid maybe lately, or maybe he or she is maybe in a place now where nobody is accepting the Zakat Fitr. They may pay it maybe later. And if a Muslim now he pays, or if a Muslim delays its payment without such an excuse, his payment is not acceptable as Zakat al-Fitr, but it is considered as an ordinary sadaqah. So he must pay it, but he will not get the special reward of Zakat al-Fitr. Okay, he must pay. So this is very much important, that even maybe you had forgotten to pay it. That is not an excuse here also to forget. It's very much important to understand that we should not be forgetting this thing, and that's why you find that we have done this lecture. You have done this lecture, and that's why we want also you share this lecture to others, so that they don't forget this important ibadah. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ is saying that if one pays Zakat al-Fitr before the Eid prayer, it is considered an accepted zakah, and if he pays it after the Salah, that is Eid prayer, it is considered an ordinary sadaqah. And this hadith is reported by Abu Dawood in An-Nasai and also in Ibn Majah. So we have seen that in this hadith it has stated that if you are paying that Zakat Fitr before the Eid prayer, then it is an accepted zakah. But if you have paid it after the Eid prayer, it is considered as ordinary sadaqah. Now I want to mention some rulings on Zakat al-Fitr, and there are not many. First of all is that it is permissible to distribute the Zakat Fitr of one person among a few poor person, or to give Zakat Fitr of more than one person to one poor person. So Zakat Fitr of a few persons may be put in a vessel and then distributed among the poor without weighting or measuring. So what I'm mentioning here is that maybe first statement here I had mentioned that that maybe there is one person who is among a few poor person, And maybe you want to give your whole Zakat ul-Fitr to that person, then it is accepted. It is accepted. It is permissible. Or maybe you want to give your Zakat ul-Fitr, or maybe of more than one person to only one poor person. Maybe there are many rich people. They may give their whole Zakat ul-Fitr to only one person, one poor person. It is also accepted. Or maybe if you we have mentioned the second way, that if maybe that person, that is maybe the few person, that is the rich people, they may put all their Zakat al-Fitr in a vessel, and then you find that you distribute them. Then you take that vessel, you distribute maybe 1 kg to the poor people, or maybe even without even waiting, then it is accepted that your Zakat al-Fitr, it is accepted. And mostly you find that around many places they do like that. They put their Zakat al-Fitr in a vessel, and they give that Zakat al-Fitr to other people, the poor people, okay, without even waiting and without even measuring. But you find that it is not permissible to pay bad things as Zakat al-Fitr. It is not permissible to pay bad things as Zakat al-Fitr. What have we mentioned here? That it is not permissible to pay bad things as Zakat al-Fitr. Allah Azza Jalla has mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, and the verse is 267, that أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم ومما أخرجنا لكم من الأرض ولا تيمموا الخبيث منه تنفقون ولستم بآخذه إلى أن تغمضوا فيه واعلموا أن الله غني حميد. So in this verse, بإذن ta'ala, as I mentioned here in Surah Al-Baqarah, say that all you who believe, give of the good things which you have honorably earned, and of the fruits of earth which we have produced for you, and do not aim at anything which is bad out of it. You may be giving away something which you yourself, you will not receive it except with the closed eyes, and know that Allah Azza wa Jal, He is free of all wants and worthy of all praise. So you find that we are not allowed now to give bad things as the Zakat al-Fitr, as you can see in this verse. Allah Azza wa Jal is really teaching us a very important thing here. If you go and see this verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, being told that, we should be spending of the good things that we have. People, they have good things within themselves. They have good food and they eat it. But you find that when you're talking about giving to another person, they may not give that good things to others. That there's a problem in that. Allah doesn't like those people who do not give good things to other people. And that's why Allah mentioned ahead that, even if you find that you have spent of the good things which you have maybe earned. Now the earning of it here we are mentioning is that you should earn also in a lawful manner. You should not take maybe interest or riba and give out of this Zakat Fitr. It's also not acceptable. It's invalid. It's not permissible to give now as interest of your money, and then you take that money and then you pay as Zakat Fitr. That is invalid also, because the riba in itself, it is haram. So we should first earn legally, and then we are able now to give a Zakat Fitr. So one of the bad things Allah has just mentioned here that we should not be giving is that you should not be spending the things that you do not like. Maybe you find that at your home you have maybe a food, or maybe you have maybe rice which maybe had rotten, or maybe it has a bad smell, Now, Allah Jal is telling us through this verse here that we should not give this rotten rice to the poor people, because you yourself, you will not accept it. You will not accept such food also. You yourself, if you are given maybe a rotten, maybe a rice, will you accept it? You will not accept it. Except maybe Allah mentioned, except maybe you have closed your eyes and you have tolerated yourself therein. Maybe you are closed your eyes and you have tolerated yourself within closing your eyes there, and then you took it. So you as a person, you yourself, you cannot take that bad rotten rice, because of the fact that it will not be useful to you. And that's why Allah is mentioning that we should not give that bad rotten rice to the poor people, but we should give the good things to the poor people. That's why Allah mentioned that, oh, you believe, spend of the good things which you have earned in a legal manner, and of that which we have now produced from the earth for you. So you should give the rice which is now good, which is fresh. Yeah? And also, very importantly, is that and do not aim at that which is bad to spend from it, though you will not accept it, except if you have or if you close your eyes and tolerate therein, and know that Allah Azza wa Jal is rich, free of all needs, and worthy of all praise. So we shall be people who are spending of the good things to the poor people. So alhamdulillah, I have finished on my lecture here on Zakat al-Fitr. But alhamdulillah, I have not yet finished, as we mentioned that this is now our first part. Now our second part, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, now I'm going to go to our second session, and we are going to talk on about some of the common questions that are asked regarding Zakat al-Fitr. Some of the common questions that are asked regarding Zakat Fitr, and we're going to answer them bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So first of the question that inshallah today we're going to address is regarding the fact that if maybe is a Muslim husband obliged to give Zakatul Fitr on behalf of his Christian wife? And talk about this question, alhamdulillah, find that if your wife is one of the people of the book, or the Christian or Jewish, the husband now, he is not obliged to give Zakat al-Fitr on her behalf, because Zakat al-Fitr is only obligatory for Muslims. I think so I also mentioned this fact. But the fact that many people, they don't understand that, this Zakat al-Fitr, it is the one that is obligatory for Muslims. And why is it for Muslims? Because of the fact that we have known and we have understood that the purpose of the Zakat al-Fitr, it is to purify ourselves from the sins that we have done maybe during the month of Ramadan. And also maybe you have done indecent speech during the month of Ramadan, it purifies it. And this is also indicated by the report generated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, who said the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam enjoined Zakat al-Fitr, a sa of dates or a sa of barley, on behalf of the free and the slave, male and female, young and old, among the Muslims. Among the Muslim. This is narrated by Al-Bukhari and also in Muslim. So the words which is among the Muslim, it indicates that being a Muslim, it is a condition of Zakat al-Fitr being obligatory, and that it is not required of the disbeliever on his own behalf. And there is also scholarly consensus on this point. So this is very much important, that when you talk about the fact that Christian woman should the husband give that Zakat Fitr on her behalf, the answer is no. Answer is no. The next question, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, that usually asked is the things that should be given as Zakat al-Fitr. So can we give Zakat al-Fitr in the form of sugar, tea and canned foods? When talking about now the fact that sugar and tea, these are not staple food. And how do we know that? It's because of the fact that a staple food, it is something which people they eat as the basic source of nutrition. And when you go to an indication of the report, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, who said that at the time of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, on the day of Eid al-Fitr, we used to give as Zakat al-Fitr a sa' of food stuff, and our food at that time was barley, raisins, dried yogurt and dates. So they will give a sa' of what they ate as their staple food. And whatever it is not regarded as a staple food of the people, it is not permissible to give it as Zakat al-Fitr. And it is mentioned in Mawsu al-Fiqhiyah that staple food, they include the wheat, the rice and other basic foods which they are suitable to provide the nutrition for the people's bodies on an ongoing basis. And it is well known also now that the sugar and the tea, even though the people, they need them, they are not things that the people they consume as a staple food, and based on that it is not permissible to give them as Zakat Fitr. But when come down to the fact of canned foods, these canned goods, they are foods that the people they regard as staple foods, then there is nothing wrong with giving them as Zakat Fitr, such as maybe the cans of maybe beans, the cans of chickpeas, the cans of corn, the can of peas, the can of beans and so on. But it should be noted that the cans, it may contain other things that are added to these foods, as we find that maybe they put it water, they put it some of the like tomato sauce in it, like tomato paste in it, so they may put something like that. So we find that tomato paste, it is not a staple food, but that beans, it is a staple food. So what is say that we should note that this cans, when it contains other things, it is essential now to pay attention now to that when we are working out the weights and the measures, because mentioned you have to have 3 kg, 3 kilograms. And Ibn Qudama rahimullah ta'ala said that if what is mixed with it takes up a share of the measure, and it is so prevalent that it is regarded as not acceptable, then it is not acceptable as Zakat Fitr. But if you find that it is not much, then it is permissible to give it as Zakat Fitr, so long as more than a sa' it is given to compensate for that share. So that will be a full sa' of the staple food. And Al-Mirdawi, he said that if we say that it is acceptable, even if that amount of the added ingredient it is great, more should be given now to compensate for that added ingredient, so that there will be a full sa' of the staple food. Okay, so you can see that what Al-Mirdawi said, it is the correct view, because the aim now here it is to give a sa' of food, staple food. So if a person gives maybe the fallen cans and the full beans on their own reach the level of the sa', then there is nothing wrong with that, because he has done what is required of him, which is to give a sa' of food. Moreover, these things are added to the full to keep it from spoiling and enhance its taste, so adding them is not regarded as a fault, and Allah Jal, He knows the best. So finally, regarding these things, some people, they have to understand that the measure of it is very much important, especially of the canned foods. And you have to take note that if maybe it's a beans, then we should try maybe to check it up. Maybe you try to open it and measure now the beans only. And then you find that maybe it is 200 gram now, and you find that the whole canned tin, it is 400 gram. Then you should consider that one can now it is 200 gram. That means for 1 kg it will be 5 cans, for 2 kg it will require 10 cans, and for 3 kg we require 15 cans for that for that 400 gram can, because of the fact that 200 gram it has beans. So it's very much important to measure like that, and that's why you have to know how much you should buy, how much cans you should give, as if it is a staple food. If it is a staple food, then we should give that as cans, but if it is not a staple food, then we should not give it as Zakat Fitr. And also another thing, as we mentioned here, that the sugar and the tea, it is not a staple food. It is not a staple food. Then another question is, this another question which is very much important also. This is now regarding now the meat. That what is now maybe the rate of Zakat Fitr if it is given in the form of meat. Now, when I talk about meat here, firstly, we have to say that we can give, and it is permissible now to give Zakat Fitr in the form of meat. And for those who find that whose staple food it is meat, the staple food is meat. And there are hadith from the Messenger of Allah Assalam, which gave now the rate of Zakat of Fitr as a sa' of food, as a sa', And if the Muslim chooses to give Zakat Fitr in the form of meat or anything else that is weighted and not measured, then he should work out the amount of his Zakat Fitr by weight. And Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen Rahimullah Ta'ala said, but some, they have told us that a sa' of meat, it cannot be measured. So we say, if it is not possible to measure something, then we should resort to weighting it. And if you see from another one, that the scholars have stated that the rate of Zakat Fitr, if it is given in the form of meat, it says in Hashiyat ad-Dasuki al-Maliki that Zakat al-Fitr, it is to be given by weight in case of the meat and the like, means meat and similar things such as yogurt, which are to be given in the form of 5 and 1/3 Baghdadi artal. So this here ratal, or the plural is artal, it is a unit of weight and also of measure, and many researchers have determined that the Baghdadi ratal, it is equivalent to 408 grams. 408 grams, which is very much near to half kg. So based on that, Zakat Fitr it is in form of, based on that, if the Zakat Fitr in the form of meat, it is 2,176 grams. And it is well known that giving the equivalent of the sa', it is in weight, it is also approximate. And because the weight of a sa' differs according to whatever is measured in this manner, so if the Muslim decides to err on the side of the caution and give more than that, that is better. And that's why Ibn Qudama Rahimullahu Ta'ala said that we have indicated that the sa' it is equivalent to 5 and 1/3 Baghdadi artal, and the ratal, it is originally a unit of measurement. In terms of weight, the scholars estimated it so that it may be known and transmitted to others. And a number of scholars then narrated from Ahmad that he said, I weighed the sa' and found it to be 5 and 1/3 artal of wheat. And he also said, we took some lentils and used them as a standard, for they are the best thing that we have come across to be used as a standard for weighting, because they do not shift around. So we took a measure of lentils, then we weighted it and we found it to be 5 and 1/3 artal. So if the size 5 and 1/3 artal of wheat and lentils, which are among the heaviest of grains, then other times Zakat Fitr must be lighter than them. In which case, if a person gives 5 and 1/3 artal of them, this will be more than a sa'. It's better for the one who gives something heavy by weight to err on the side of caution and to add little to it, so that he may be certain that he has given a sa'. And that's why we tell the people that they should be giving 3 kilograms of now that meat. They should give 3 kilograms of meat. Now I know that some people they may find that we can also give maybe 2.5 kg. But now you can say that the way I've mentioned here, that we should be adding a little bit on it, so that we at least we caution on to one side now. So we give, Idnillahi Ta'ala, we should be trying to give 3 kilograms, and that will be best, inshallah, and Allah knows best. Inshallah, we are going to have now only the last question. So another question here, it says that if a person, maybe you find that this person, he has paid the Zakat al-Fitr more than a week before Eid, is that valid? And if it is not valid, then what should that person do? So firstly, find the scholar, they had differed concerning the earliest time when Zakat al-Fitr may be paid, and there are several views. The first view is that it should be paid 2 days before Eid, and that is the view of Malikis and Hanbalis, and they quoted that as evidence the hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said that they used to give Zakat al-Fitr 1 or 2 days before Eid. Some of them, they say that it should be given 3 days before Eid because of the report in Al-Mudawwana, according to which Malik rahimahullah ta'ala said, Nafi told me that Ibn Umar used to send Zakat Fitr to the one who was collecting it 2 or 3 days before Eid al-Fitr. So this view, it was favored by Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, as it says in Majmu' al-Fatawa. So the second one is that it is permissible now to give it from the beginning of Ramadan. And this is the view of the Hanafis, and it is the correct view according to the Shafis also. And they said because the reason for giving charity, it is fasting and then breaking the fast. So if one of these two reasons present, it is permissible to hasten it, just as it is permissible to hasten giving the zakah of one's wealth after taking possession of the nisab and before 1 full year has passed. The third view is that it is permissible to give it from the beginning of the year, and this is the view of some of the Hanafis and some of the Shafis. And they say because it is zakah, and they liken it to the zakah of one's wealth with regard to paying it in advance or in all cases. So the most correct view, it is the first one, that we should give it 2 or 3 days before Eid. These are things I mentioned it. So it has also been accepted by Sheikh Ibn Taymun rahimahullah ta'ala, and also many other Sheikh. Like Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala also did it like that, and he told us we should be doing like that. So I will tell my brothers and sisters that we should do that one, but as we know that the reason why it is obligatory now, it is the breaking of the fast, which is indicated by the fact that it is mentioned in conjunction with it, and the purpose behind it is to make the poor independent of means at a specific time, and it is not permissible to pay it in advance of that time. Okay. And Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala was asked, as it says in Majmu' al-Fatawa, that I paid Zakat Fitr at the beginning of Ramadan in Egypt before I came to Makkah, and now I am staying in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Do I have to pay Zakat Fitr? He replied, yes, you have to pay Zakat al-Fitr because you paid it before its time came. The phrase Zakat Fitr is composed of 2 words, which explain the reason for the zakah, which is breaking the fast. So Zakat Fitr is mentioned in conjunction with the Fitr, the breaking of the fast. And because that is the reason for it, and it is known that breaking the fast of Ramadan, it only occurs when you are on the last day of Ramadan. So it is not permissible to pay Zakat Fitr except when the sun has set on the last day of Ramadan, except that there is a concession allowing it to be paid 1 or 2 days before. Otherwise, the proper time for it is after sunset of the last day of Ramadan, because that is the time when the Ramadan fast is to be broken. Hence we say that it is better to pay it on the morning of Eid if possible. Okay, if possible. Secondly, we have to know that it is permissible to give Zakat Fitr to a deputy to pay it on your behalf through a charity or trustworthy people at the beginning of the month, so long as you stipulate to the deputy that it is to be paid 1 or 2 days before Eid, because the proper way of paying it is to give it to poor and needy people who are entitled to it. And this is what is mentioned in Sharia, that it is limited to 1 or 2 days before Eid. Acting as someone deputy in paying it comes under the heading of cooperating in righteousness and piety, and there is no time limit for that. Now I don't want to go on, but I want to conclude by saying that paying Zakat Fitr 1 week before Eid, it is not valid, and you have to pay it again unless you gave it to someone whom you delegated to pay it, such as a charitable organization that will pay it at the proper time, 1 or 2 days before Eid. In that case, you have done what is required of you, and it is regarded as zakah that is valid and acceptable, insha'Allah. So, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I just want to mention that this lesson for tonight is a reminder of Zakat Fitr. We have discussed a lot of things, and I know that the last part we have taken to 20 minutes to discuss a lot of things with a very small explanation on it, but please let us try to understand it in the best way possible. And I'll finish by saying that inshallah we have now our last lecture bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. In day 7 we are going to talk about the last 10 days of Ramadan, and welcoming now the Laylatul Qadr. So we have to be ready for it and try our best to also attend that event. It's a very special one. So just want to say subhanallah wa bihamdihi astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi.
وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير ترى ما زلت تذكرها وتذكر روعة الذكر فيهدي القلب ألحانا شذاها يفوح بالصدر ويصفو العلم راقراقا ويسقي دوحة العمر فيمحو الكون ظل